your body is going to adapt to what you put it under. Let's take a question. Remember, if you want your question featured here on the show, use the hashtag AskPapaSwolio in the comments down below to be featured. So this is from the Crowflies on Instagram. Papa Swolio, what are your thoughts on circuit training and MMA, which is mixed martial arts, individually, that is? Well, I'm not really sure what you mean by individually. So I'll just take it for the way I look at it. And if any of you do MMA or if any of you do circuit training, what are my thoughts on circuit training? It really depends on the application of it. I'm assuming you're talking about circuit training for MMA. I'm assuming you're saying, I mean, circuit training, if you're doing weight training, it would definitely behoove you to do movements that will improve your MMA. So if you're doing cardio, obviously that's going to help. Doing circuit training can be beneficial, but I would also say power training and strength training is very important. You know, it's really important to have a great posterior chain for MMA. And it depends on what type of, MMA is out of my league. That's not something that I've ever gotten involved with, but it depends on your martial art of choice. So mixed martial arts obviously would be a combination of different styles of martial arts. So it depends on the movements that would benefit your skills or your strengths. And of course, you want to bring up those weaknesses. So I know a lot of people that do jujitsu and MMA, they do a lot of squats, they do cleans, they do like power movements, but they also do a lot of circuit training and shorter rest because it definitely maps to the type of shorter time frame, you know, a shorter duration, a higher intensity. So you definitely want to have that kind of power and that kind of explosivity, but you also don't want to sacrifice your mobility and you don't want to sacrifice your endurance for just like, you know, beefy strength training. So you definitely have to have a nice mix in that. So, you know, my thoughts on circuit training, my thoughts on any kind of training really is every type of training that you do, and this is kind of period, end of story, whatever you do for your stress, whatever type of external force you put on your body, and external force and stimulus is going to depend. If you're doing a lot of cardiovascular, if you're doing a lot of higher intensity training, if you're doing a lot of sprinting, if you're doing a lot of body weight, if you're doing a lot of pull-ups, if you're doing a lot of heavy weights, your body is going to adapt to what you put it under. Now, if you're just doing a lot of random stuff, you might just kind of like dabble a little bit. It might be hard for you to recover in certain aspects. You might not excel in any one area. So it's important to have a proper periodized program based on your individual needs that would help bring up those weaker areas. Because MMA, you're focused on victory. When you're working out, when you're training, you're competing against yourself towards a goal that is off in a distant future, of course, with little checkpoints depending on what your goals are. So it really depends on what the outcome you want to have. And that's what adaptation is. So whatever stress you put your body under, or you expose your body to, will be the adaptation that over time, the chronic adaptation that it will come about to be. So if you do bodybuilding training, for example, you're going to build those types of adaptations. And this is actually an interesting question because this is where a lot of people tend to lose track of what they're doing versus what they want. Because what's popular now is circuit training. What's popular is HIIT training. What's popular are these short rest, drip and sweat, just throw shit around, flipping tires, all this kind of stuff. However, people want to look in the mirror and see a physique. And the problem with these types of training is that it doesn't lead to that. Some people adapt to certain body parts faster than others. But just doing tire flipping and random stuff and doing ropes, if you're trying to build a physique and sculpt a physique, you need to do bodybuilding. Period. End of story. So not everyone's going to end up with a proportional physique. You're going to have a lot of imbalances. You're going to have a lot of, it's not the same type of stress as doing concentrated, focused isolation training as is much of what bodybuilding is. And bodybuilding is building body parts, you know, as large, defined, but symmetrical as possible. So bodybuilding is a great combination with other styles of training, but a lot of people just like to do random shit. I'm going to work out. They go and they run and they go and they do a lot of pull-ups and they do swimming and shit. And they expect to look in the mirror and see like a proportionate Adonis Greek god physique. And that's just not how the body works. So you're kind of just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. And you are a victim to the outcome rather than, okay, what do I actually want? Right? What do you actually want the outcome to be? And I know I'm kind of going a little bit off that question, but what do you want the outcome to be? If you want a physique and you want the aesthetics to be the outcome, then you got to train for that. If you want performance to be the outcome, then you got to train for that. Doesn't mean you can't have some crossover, but it really, depends on what you want the outcome to be. And a lot of people's training protocols don't map exactly to what they think they want or what they expect. And because their expectations are different than what the effort they're putting in, they're not happy with the results. And it's like, well, and then they come on the podcast or they'll ask a question. It's like, yeah, well, because you're not doing the right training. You're not fucking doing bodybuilding. What do you expect? So it's very important to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then giving yourself the time to adapt to it.
That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you laid. That's a bed that you laid. What kind of game is you playing? We go hard in the paint. We go hard in the paint. What the fuck is you saying? I only go where they pay. What kind of game is you playing? Whoa, my shit is relevant. On topic, my melanin is popping. I'm taking skeletons on closets and making new deposits. I'm in my element. No ollies, you children popping.